I'm slowly transitioning into fall, and this Easy Dip Powder Mani was the perfect mix of autumn and glam to get me in the spirit. So stick around and let's create this easy autumn glam dip nail look together. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and we're just going to go ahead and jump straight into this mani. So I'm going to be using my double dipped dip liquids as well as their dip powders. This video is not sponsored, however I am an ambassador for Double Dipped, so these dip powders were gifted to me, but I only share what I love, and if I don't love it, of course I'd let you know that as well. But you know my love for Double Dipped dip powders. I love their products. I think they're really great quality. And if you love Double Dipped or have been wanting to try them out, I do also have an ambassador code. So you can always use code PURPLELICIOUS18 to save 18% off your orders at any time. But getting back to what I'm doing, whenever I do a dip powder mani, I like to start with my solid colors first. So the solid I have here is Flower Petals. This was actually the March solid of the month. So in 2025, Double Dipped introduced solid of the month. So each month there's a new color. And even though this is a previous month, I just had to use it because I thought it went so perfectly with this mani. It's like the perfect neutral color. It's a rose mauve type color. And it's just a perfect transition from summer into fall. And the glitter that I'm going to get into a little bit later, I just thought it paired so perfectly that I absolutely had to use this color. So Flower Petals is going to go on my thumb and ring finger. So I just applied a thin, even layer of dip base to my entire nail. And then I'm going to go ahead and dip into Flower Petals. I may dip in a couple of times, tapping off the excess powder. And then while the dip base is still a little bit wet, I'm just taking my precision tool and I'm cleaning up around my cuticle area and sidewalls to remove any excess product, because I want to make sure that I don't have any excess product on my skin, because that can cause lifting. Once that first layer dried, I'm going to take a dust brush, dust off the excess powder, and then go in with a second layer. So the second layer is going to be the same process as the first layer. I'm applying a thin, even layer of dip base to the entire nail. I start with a brush about the midpoint of my nail. I brush it downwards towards my free edge, and then I'll work my way upwards towards my cuticle area. If I missed any spots with my first layer, I want to make sure that I'm getting it with my second layer. So I'm a little bit slower. And then once I have that on, I'm going to go ahead and dip into the powder, tap off the excess powder. And always after every layer, I like to make sure that I'm cleaning up with my precision tool. Most times, I hate to admit it, I do actually get some product on my skin because I don't know. I could get better at application. I think I rush a little bit sometimes. So I always love using a precision tool to make sure that I'm cleaning up while I'm going, because that requires less filing afterwards. I'm only going to do 2 layers of Flower Petals, and I'm going to wait to cap my nails in clear until the very end, because I'm going to end up doing a glitter ombre on top of my ring finger. And at this point, I wasn't decided whether or not I wanted to do a glitter ombre or some kind of glitter placement on my thumb. So I wanted to go ahead and wait just in case I decided I wanted to do some sort of glitter placement. So when I'm done with my ring finger, I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next colors. I'm not going to worry about capping in clear or activating or any of that. Isn't this color just so beautiful? I don't do one color manis often, especially if it doesn't involve like a shimmer or a glitter, but I feel like this color stands all by itself, and I definitely want to do a one color mani with this sometime very soon. But anyway, in the meantime, I finished with my 2 layers of that, so now I'm going to move on to my next color. This one is Autumn Rose. It has the most beautiful pink shimmer in it. I feel like the video isn't doing it justice, but believe me, it's gorgeous. And you may have saw that sneak peek in the intro that it is actually chromable. So it has just that beautiful pink shimmer in it. And this and a bunch of other beautiful fall colors are releasing on August 23rd, which is a Saturday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. But if you're EST like me, that would be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you set your alarms, because there are so many beautiful fall colors coming, including this one. As I'm watching this back and doing my voiceover, I just realized I don't know what happened to the clip of me doing my pinky. So Autumn Rose went on my index finger and pinky. So after I did my first layer on my index finger, I did my first layer on my pinky. I dusted off the excess powder. So I don't know what happened to that. However, we're now back to my second layer. So I'm doing my second layer on my index finger, going ahead, cleaning up my cuticle area. And then we go back to doing my second layer on my pinky. I always miss the farther end side of my pinky. So sometimes it's easier for me to point my hand towards myself like this. And that way I can see where I'm applying my dip liquid because I missed that little spot on my first layer. I want to make sure that I'm getting it with my second layer because I only want to do 2 layers of the dip powder. I don't want to end up doing a third, even though it's thinner and I could get away with it. I like to stick with 2 layers. And, I had good enough coverage where I felt like I didn't need 2 layers or more than 2 layers. I'm not typically a fan of browns, but the pink shimmer in here has completely won me over. I mean, I feel like browns are kind of growing on me a little bit. They're never going to be the first thing I gravitate towards, but they don't repulse me. And I've always been told I look good in brown. It's just never been like my favorite color to use, but maybe I'll start branching out a little bit more. So we're going ahead, moving on to my last finger. So on my middle finger, I'm going to be using Sweater Weather. This is another one of the beautiful colors that's releasing on August 23rd. This one is a chunky glitter, but the color mix in here is so beautiful. But because it is a chunkier glitter, I'm going to pour over for my first layer. So after I applied my dip base, I have my Chaos Gemerald Mini, and I'm just pouring over into that just to make sure that I'm catching more of like the dip powder, the fine powder, the smaller pieces of glitter. I want less of those chunky pieces because I don't want my nails to be too bulky. And then while the dip base is still drying, I want to make sure that I'm pressing down, making sure everything's laying as flat as possible, because if it's sticking up, you'll more than likely file through it. I also want to do an ombre on my ring finger, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So even though it's not going to be an ombre on my entire nail, I'm going to go ahead and apply the dip base to my entire nail. I like to do that just to make sure like that it's even. And so once I have that dip base on my nail, I'm going to dip my eyeshadow brush. This is like a Wet n Wild eyeshadow brush. I'm going to dip it into the glitter, and then I have my finger pointed a little downwards, and I'm going to start tapping that glitter around my cuticle area. I want to concentrate the most amount at my cuticle area, and then because my finger's pointed downwards, any of that like excess glitter will kind of fade and trickle and fall towards the center of my nail, creating that like natural fade instead of it being like too concentrated. Once I have that, I don't want to risk getting glitter everywhere. So I'm just going to take an orange wood stick, dip it into that wet dip base, and I'm just going to pick up a couple extra pieces and place that like where I feel like it's a little bit bare. And I find that the best way to control your glitter. Like I wouldn't do it for my entire nail, but I just wanted like a couple extra pieces, but I didn't want to risk getting too many pieces in a certain area, which is why I'm just going to do just that little bit of glitter placement just to make sure that I fill in like any gaps, that there aren't any holes. And when I'm happy with that, I'm going to leave that as is. And then I'm going to go ahead, dust off the excess powder on my middle finger, and go ahead and do the second layer of the glitter. So for the second layer, I will go ahead, apply a thin, even layer of that dip base to my entire nail. But before I do that, I forgot to mention this. I'm tapping my Chaos Gemerald Mini against the table. And the reason I'm doing that is because the chunkier glitter pieces are heavier, so they're going to sink to the bottom. But for my second layer, I want to pick up as many of those larger glitter pieces as possible to get that look. So tapping it against the table or a hard surface is going to bring those larger glitter pieces to the surface so that when I'm ready, I'm laying my finger flat in, and laying my finger flat in is going to pick up those larger pieces. So it's going to pick up whatever on that surface. And because I tapped it against the table, those larger glitter pieces are at the surface. So you can see I have really good coverage here, and that's exactly what I want. So as the dip base is drying, I definitely want to make sure that I'm cleaning up. I'm pressing down, making sure the glitters are laying flat. And then with my precision tool, not only am I going to clean up around my cuticle area and sidewalls, I want to make sure that I don't have any pieces that are like hanging off my nail. So I may like knock off a couple of pieces if they don't really fit right and they're kind of stacked too much, or if they're kind of half on, half my nail. But I just want to make sure that I do a little bit of cleanup while I can to make the filing process a little bit easier. after I kept all my nails in clear, waited for it to completely dry, and then scrubbed off the excess powder using a stiff scrub brush, I'm now going to go ahead and activate my nails. The activator is what hardens or cures your dip powder. So I'm going to apply a generous layer on all my nails. I usually do about 2 to 3 passes just to make sure that it's penetrating through all the layers of dip powder. And then I wait about 2 minutes or so when the dip powder is hardened. Then I'm going to go ahead and file and buff, and I'm going to do that off camera. But I do want to show you, I talk about this a lot. This is the chunky glitter hack. So after you apply the activator, when it starts drying down, it's not wet, but it's not completely dry either. When it starts getting matte, you press down either using a glove or your finger. You don't want it to be sticky, so you want kind of that midpoint of drying, and then you start pressing down. And so then as it's drying flat as you're pressing down. And I find this is a complete game changer when you're working with chunky glitters. I mean, you can see here, these glitters aren't sticking up anyway. They're laying really flat, but I like to do this just for a little extra flatness, I guess, to the glitters. So once again, I'm applying a generous amount of activator to my nails. I'm going to wait for it to dry down a little bit, because if you start touching it, pressing down while it's still wet, it's going to be sticky and you're going to end up pulling up some of those glitters. So once you get to that point of it's not sticking anymore, but it's still a little bit wet, then you can start pressing down just to make sure that your glitters are laying flat. If you struggle with chunky glitters, I highly recommend you try this method because I love the look of chunky glitters, but I hated using them until I saw this hack, and I haven't looked back ever since. I went ahead and filed and buffed off camera, so here's how my mani's looking, and I couldn't help myself. I decided I needed to chrome Autumn Rose on itself because that pink shimmer was just calling my name. So I will be using gels to do the chrome. So I've got my double dipped HEMA-free gel base coat as well as the HEMA-free Ultra Shine gel top coat. I'm starting with a layer of gel base first because I filed and buffed my nails smooth. So if I went straight in with the gel top coat, it doesn't have anything to grip to my nails, so it would just peel right off. So the gel top coat gives something tacky for the gel top coat to adhere to. So if you struggle with your gel top coat peeling off your dip powder nails, try a layer of gel base first and then go in with your gel top coat. Since I'm going to use gel top coat for all my nails, I'm going to go ahead and apply the gel base to all my nails just to get it done all at once, but it's only the index finger and pinky that I'm going to do the chrome. I'm going to cure my gel base for a full 60 seconds, and then after that's cured, I'm going to go in with my gel top coat. Whenever I'm applying gel top coat, I like to cap my free edges first, so I just take a little bit of that gel top coat and I apply it to the free edge of all my nails. And the reason I do this is because as you're capping your free edge, a little bit of gel can get on the surface of your nail, creating like just a little bit of a ledge. So this way, once I have that little ledge from capping the free edge, once I do the surface of my nails, I'm going over that little ledge, smoothing it all out. And this is especially important when you're doing chrome because you want your nails to be as smooth as possible because chrome will show any imperfection. So this smooths everything out. But even if I'm not doing chrome, I always cap my free edge first just to get rid of that little ledge. But I do find that capping your free edge is really important for the longevity of your mani, and it does help with peeling as well. flash cured my top coat for about 12 seconds, and now for the chrome, I'm just going to go ahead and dip my finger into the Autumn Rose dip powder, and the powder is sticking to my nail because at this point the top coat is still a little bit tacky because it's only flash cured. So I'm taking a little makeup sponge and I'm rubbing in that powder into my nail, and then you can see that pink shimmer starting to chrome. You can kind of see that pink sheen on my nail. So I just want to make sure that it's rubbed in really well. So I'm going around my sidewalls, cuticle area, as well as my free edge, and I'll do the same for my pinky as well. Once I'm done chroming those nails, at this point my top coat is only flash cured, so I'm going to stick my hand in my lamp and give it a full cure to make sure that's fully cured. And then off camera, I applied a gel top coat to the chromed nails because I want to protect that chrome, or else it would just rub right off. After everything's all finished, of course, I have to rehydrate my cuticles. So this is my Scales of a Mermaid cuticle oil. I had to run with the whole autumn theme, so this is Fallen for You. And I forgot how much I love this scent. It's a nice change of pace because it's very warm and cozy. It's kind of like woodsy. I don't know. It's just a really great scent. And of course, I do also have an affiliate code with Scales of a Mermaid. So if you're eyeing anything, you can use code Genie10 to save 10% off your orders. So that pretty much wraps up today's mani, and I have to say, I am so glad I chromed Autumn Rose because just look at that pink shimmer. I love the way this mani turned out. I feel like it's not completely fall. I feel like it's a really good transitional mani. But anyway, I hope this video is helpful and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.